even sure I really need the glasses. It's kind of muggy out today. But even though it's just cloudy, I see the comments, Sam, it's not winter yet. Freaking feels like winter. It's like 31 out. When I got up to do cardio this morning, I even just went to the like little apartment gym I got. Dude, I was freezing. I can. That's one thing which I get jealous of anybody, on the southern coast. I'm talking Florida, California, or at least if you're on the bottom side. Yeah, starting to miss the warmth. But maybe I just got to start dressing appropriately. T-shirt and the thin pants. I'm gonna have to swap them out for some more thick kind of sweatsuit style stuff. But regardless of temperature, it'll not hinder the pump. Even if the weather gets close to, not even close to, literally just emergency level, these lifts will still go on some way or another. I've never had to do like a Dorian Yates walk to the gym kind of thing. Usually I just, I guess you could say, kind of risk it, where even if the roads are kind of unplowed or whatever, still just, try to drift it. Probably, usually within reason. Like if it was actually too crazy, just do the home gym kind of a lift. But yeah, one time in school there was a really bad kind of snowstorm. I think it was, I'm trying to think now, maybe 2 years ago. No, what am I? More like 3.5, 4. Not 4. Probably 3 years ago, 2 years ago or so. When I was at school, everything fucking shut down. Class, gyms, and I called ahead, and the Planet Fitness that was about 20 minutes, I think, east. They said they were open. So I get in my car. I could barely go over 20, honestly. I mean, like, the roads were actually really fucking slick. I already drank my pre-workout. I'm excited for some legs. And lo and behold, shut down. I guess they couldn't staff it, which, would make sense. And then they're probably not even allowed to force, to force somebody to come in and work if it's an actual fucking snow emergency. So I'm sitting there, basically 40 minutes away from the house, stimmed up, but luckily enough there was actually a pretty hardcore gym that was 24-hour, about 15 or so minutes further, and that's snow time, not like regular drive time. So I roll in there and ended up saving me, and that gym was actually pretty cool for a while. But yeah, that day I did not pay for a day pass. The people that were working there just weren't there. Obviously it was like extra snowy, so I just roll in, ask two of the guys next to me if I need to do anything. They tell me the same shit. They're like, yeah, we didn't pay for anything either. We just came here because everything else was closed. But with a couple of these 24-hour gyms, yeah, there is, apart from catastrophe, there's really nothing stopping you from getting a workout in. So that's part of the reason why I like having a couple of different memberships. Just lets you change it up. But today with arms, tries, buys, I want to do a touch of shoulders. Nothing crazy. I mean, mainly side delt, maybe like touch of rear delt. So really, I think at the end of arms, I'll just do like a couple sets of side lateral raises, just to really kind of pump them up. But arms specifically, I've had a lot of luck with triceps these last like 6 or so months, maybe even more like 7. Biasing a lot more squeezing extensions, Like if you fast, I guess you could say fast reverse like a year and a half, and you click an arm day that was, that far back, all my tricep stuff was way different than I do it now. It was all like 2 plates slapped on the stack, really heavy, not even breaking 90 degrees on my tricep angle, and just kind of bouncing down there, which, I mean, it worked. Like I totally felt like I was thrashing my triceps, but I was definitely missing out on the stretch position. So that's something I've really been trying to work on, or actually have been working on and am now executing. Like with the rope, especially in the dip machine too, but mainly the rope or single arm push down, I can really feel like I get almost to the point where like my arm is just running into itself because it just can't bend any further, and then going back into the squeeze position. And not only do I think I've seen a little bit of extra tricep gains that way, it just feels better. Right? Simply getting more pumped quicker and with less weight. So my elbows are barely ever tender. Only if I accidentally, like, bump it on the corner or something, do I have to kind of, hold back a little bit on the tricep side of things. And then curls, simple enough. Maybe some self-assisted reps, some, dumbbell preachers with some, like, assisted concentric, and then ride the negative. But I think we'll just have to see. There's really not much point in guessing what the curling portion of the lift is going to look like, because I got to finish the whole tricep portion first and then be able to decide there. And depending on how that portion of the lift goes, it might change what I think would be good to start. Like right now, even just guessing, I could say, all right, I would probably like some regular alternating dumbbell curls to start. But, who knows? Maybe I actually finish triceps, move on to a couple light dumbbell curls to warm up, and I say to myself, yeah, let's start with some preachers here for whatever reason. Yeah, that's what I'll do then. So it's almost it's really a start that set when you get there kind of deal. But as long as you go nuts, your lifts finish fully pumped, you can feel legit fatigue, and you know that you actually pushed yourself, you weren't just lying, then I think you're good, right? Change it up, but if you've got a basic skeleton kind of framework of how your workouts look, no need to flip it onto its head just for the sake of, the fact that you watch some video tell you, like, oh, this is the greatest way to hit arms. Like, get a pump, go hard, and then the rest should begin to fall into place over time. But I think that's all I got there in terms of an arm introduction. Let's just go start this arm destruction. Yeah, there we go. Took a second to find a rhyming word. Let's not get too crazy. Just start with some moderately weighted rope extensions. And these I want like a good second hold, really squeeze, like I'm trying to bend my arm backwards, hyperextending itself. Obviously you can't, but like that's what I'm trying to imagine. And then go from there. I can't handle the wires. I can't lose the wireless headphones. I tried, but this disconnect is too nice. But let's get real here. Actually, one notch heavier. Okay. Whew. Yeah, I gotta drop the weight, but let's do one more. Failure is much more abrupt when you do a full kind of stretch like that. Because, I mean, the strength curve of your triceps, it's actually a little bit easy up here. It gets hardest when your arm's at 90, and then it almost gets like easier again, just because you have better leverages. So, not surprising, that's the sticking point. But a few more. Okay. Okay. One more with that weight, and then Maybe do a dip next or something. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my god, okay. Yeah. Let's move on. This will be a little on the lighter side, at least relatively for me for these dips. And basically just going to do them in the exact same executed style as the rope. Deep stretch, hold during the squeeze position, maybe some partials at the end as a burnout, and you know, some shit like that. Alright, I can go a little heavier. Ah. Ooh. Yeah. 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 Oh, yeah, okay. Holy crap. Let's do one more with the same weight, but maybe make this next one a drop set, depending on how many reps I can actually pump out. Yeah. Okay. Let's just do one more straight style. And that actually might be it. I think some overhead extensions might have some value after this. But yeah, that'd put me about 7 sets for tries and then start some curls. Assuming I'm fully pumped at the end of them. I might make these ones a little bit faster paced. Not a ton, but a little. Okay. Now that's a drop set. Yeah. Okay. Oh. You know, actually, I don't think there's any need to move on to a an overhead thing. I think with those 6, tries are fucking cooked. Let's go grab some straps, warm up on some kind of light dumbbell curl, and get some fucking bicep action started. A little quicker than expected. 65 should do just nicely. Okay. Oh my God. Oh, okay. Yeah. 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 Oh my God. I'm not done. I just want to make this like a rest pause. So those reps are getting hard. I'm going to give myself a second to breathe and then be able to get more than if I were to just got a regular failure. Okay. Let's make that a double drop set. Or a double rest pause, I mean. Okay. Oh my God. All right. Let's do something a bit more controlled. I think that preacher is calling my name. And on the heavier end of what I normally feel like I can do for these preachers. So 25 and a 10 is usually about right. Feeling a little bit extra cheeky, so let's throw a 5 on there. And this will be, well, just a classic slow kind of executed set. Oh my God, okay. Whew. Okay. Yeah. Ew. Ew. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God, okay. Holy shit. Ooh. Yeah. That's enough of those. Fuck. I think I'm really feeling the extra carbs from fucking yesterday, because today's the day after Thanksgiving. I don't think I've got much room pump-wise for 2 more bicep sets. I think one more good one will probably fucking have these things fully cooked. Now, what do I want to do? Give me a moment to decide, but I'm sure it'll be a reasonably good decision. Reasonably strong probability that this is going to be it. So I think I'll probably turn it into a bit of a drop superset, but the first portion will be underhanded, bicep biased pull downs. So even though it looks like I'm doing a fucking pull down, I'm not trying to activate my lats, my traps, or anything in my back. at all. I'm trying to purely isolate my biceps. And this is the movement I'm doing. And it's a fucking curl. Now it's a little funky because it's like way up here and my arm is changing angles. But at its core, I'm still just pulling my hand toward my shoulder, trying to use everything in between. Except for my forearms, of course. But after this sort of first burnout portion, I think I'm going to drop the weight, back the seat up, and then burn out with some light cable curls. This will definitely result in some bicep pumpage. I wish there was some way to like have a sensor or something, like some kind of electrode that could actually portray it. But until then, you'll just have to take my word for it. Okay. I just saw him when, Wednesday night. Ow. Okay. Holy crap. Yeah. That is all she freaking wrote for buys. Let's go close down. Well, no need for the side laterals. At least not today. All right, little bit softly lit in this kind of pose down room, but well within reason. Plus, if you're standing right under a light, no matter what the orientation is, it's probably going to do something for you. But let's just see how pumped arms were after that reasonably, or maybe not reasonably is the right word, relatively lower volume arm day. At least compared to what the last few have been like. Ooh. But I tell you what, just from looking, you'd never know it. Ooh. Let's start with a little back pose. I'm already facing this way. No. Let me actually step forward a little bit. Oh, goodness. Oof. All right, let's see what else is there. Apart from just a classic, kind of fucking most muscular. Oh my gosh. I'm getting excited to get extra lean in this portion, specifically because the leaner my arms get, and also just my waist in general, it makes your arms look like they're extra beefy. I mean, I'm getting to the point now where the waist to arm ratio, at least where arms are pumped, like, that's not nothing bouncing around in there, you know? There we go. Yeah, we got something going on. But that is most certainly a solid arm day, especially due to this one little caveat. I didn't have any carbs yet today. Given I kind of overdid it a little bit yesterday, having a little bit of a Thanksgiving refeed. Now, nothing serious, but like enough where it's something that I do have to take into account. I might be a little bit extra sparse today in kind of an immediate, like, reactive sense, just to sort of jumpstart the getting back on track. But the whole point of the refeed is you kind of, basically just poke the fire that is your gut running through shit. So it's like, okay, I got to run off some extra energy now. Oh, I get to get used to extra. And then when you go back to your regular deficit, it almost feels a bit more intense. And not like feels for you, like subjectively. I mean, feels like, oh shit, now I'm burning extra calories. Because you don't want to completely crash your metabolism off the rip if you're about to start trimming down, because then you'll have nowhere to go. Bulking up and cutting down, and it's not like I discovered this. People have been saying this for a while. It just took me a little bit to really grasp it. But it really does help to ease your way into it and to increase the stimulus that is that diet, be it like the amount of extra food you're eating in a bulk, or like just how low below your maintenance you eat in a dieting phase. Because if you shoot it too far in either direction, then you're just going to burn yourself out. And I don't mean like mentally, I mean physically. You'll notice results begin to fucking cease. You know, I've been bulking for so many months on end over the course of time where I was like, oh, I'll suddenly break through this plateau. But really, I had just eaten so much food so quickly already that it like totally gassed my whole system, gut biome thrashed. I've noticed way better results increasing calories throughout the bulking phases and slowly decreasing calories throughout these dieting phases. And not just jumping straight to like freaking starvation mode. But arms wrecked. I think it's time to get out of here. Let's get in the car. Arms complete. Arms very well complete, might I add. Might I freaking add. And quick little note, just as a general recommendation, I think there are two kinds of people. There really are two kinds of people in the world. You know, the people who have not watched Berserk and the people who have. Right, a little bit of a plug there. I'll tell you something. I think Netflix took Berserk off of the 3 movies. I think they used to be on Netflix and now they're gone. And those 3 basically covered like a good chunk of the story. So if you can handle it, it's a little long, but you gotta go on to Reddit, look up Berserk Redux, because it's got there's like an old show from the 90s, and then there's some newer movies, but each one of those little iterations individually skipped a couple parts. So if you look up, if you watch that, this guy basically really like methodically clipped together the 2 so that it was a cohesive kind of storytelling. But just trying to put you on, man. I tell you, I think I've probably rewatched it maybe 3 times, and it's not the whole story, but you get the gist of it. It's unrelated to the arm day, but just something I wanted to say. But that was good. I could definitely tell the pump was, what's the opposite of hindered? It was aided by the fact that I had so many extra carbs yesterday from Thanksgiving. So I actually kind of got extra pumped, extra quick, to the point where it's like, okay, that's it. No need for really much more. But it's kind of a fine line, right? Because you want to do enough where you actually stimulated growth, obviously, but you don't want to do too much to the point where you're just working for no reason, tiring yourself out, increasing your training stress without increase your training stimulus. And usually I think a good little detector for where that line is as long as your sets are done with a pretty reasonable amount of intensity, then I would say whenever you're just about ready to be fully pumped, that's usually a good cue you've done enough. Now that's not like a blanket statement, because obviously for somebody who isn't so in tune with just straight up getting a pump, right, it's kind of harder to tell, right? So that's where, as a beginner, or not even as a beginner, but earlier in your training career, it might make a bit more sense to stick to like a specific number of sets per lift. Like I'm doing legs, 8 sets of quads, 8 sets of hamstrings, chest, 8 sets, 4 of pressing, 1 of a squeezing or lighter press, and then 2 of a fly. Arms, 8 sets of push downs, 8 sets of curls. Try a couple, bounce them around. because it's just a little bit trickier to to know where that line is until you've built up enough experience to be able to say it. And I'm not trying to say that like a flex. Like it does take a little while to be able to tell, like, okay, should I do one more or should I call it there? Because that's kind of the enigma of every workout. 0 sets will induce 0 gains, but infinity sets will not induce infinite fucking gains, right? If anything, if you sat in there and did bicep curls for 8 hours straight, you're probably just gonna totally atrophy your bicep. Oh goodness, sorry about that. You're totally just gonna burn yourself out. You're not gonna grow. You're just stressing out your system, So clearly, infinity isn't the answer, and 0 isn't the answer, right? So what would that imply? Somewhere in the middle, and not really in the middle, just somewhere along that line. So usually it's taken me a while to bring it down. In the beginning, for whatever reason, I had it in my mind that I wanted to do 25 set workouts twice a week. So every body part, 25 sets from the get-go. So 25 sets of leg curls, or 25 sets of hamstrings, which I wasn't even doing hamstrings for like 8 months because I didn't, in my mind, way back then, I was like, why do I want the back of my legs to be big? I want my quads to be big. I didn't have all these same values I have now way back when, before I knew any better, right? So it really just goes to show the fucking evolution over time. But for arms and back and chest, 5 movements, 5 working sets each, go from there. Twice a week. So I'd have 2 chest days a week, and each one would be 25 fucking sets total. Right? So 5 sets of bench, 5 sets of incline bench, 5 sets of Smith, 5 sets of cable flies, 5 sets of something. 5 sets of pec deck, whatever. Which was definitely overkill. That amount of volume was not necessary for the amount of stimulus that volume was giving me. But it did do me some good, and actually not some, I think a lot of good, because it gave me a lot of training experience. So I was doing 3 times the sets that somebody else might have been doing, and maybe a bit of a more optimal workout. But I was also getting 3 times the experience and 3 times the amount of reps under my belt, which I think definitely aided in my comfortability with these lifts. Because with anything, the more often you do it and the more comfortable you get with it, then the easier it's going to become to do, and the better that you'll get at it, right? I mean, you try to put me on a tightrope, I'm not going to make a few steps. But if you let somebody practice it for years on end, guess what? The guy can do a freaking double backflip, land on his like laying on his back, double front flip, land again, that sort of thing. So don't if you can't feel your chest when you're doing a bench, or you can't really feel your lats, you're kind of when guys say really activate your mind muscle connection, it kind of puts you at a little bit of a loss. Don't freak. Do not freak. That is something that is just going to come with time and training experience, and it's a pretty cool feeling when that training experience kind of manifests itself as a realization. One probably the most abrupt I ever had was when I was in my basement gym at my parents' house doing chest one night. I'm doing incline. I got a mirror on the wall so I could see myself do it. I'm sorry. That's just the nature of the deficit. It's making me sleepier. But or not even like sleepy, but just like a little bit more, a little bit less energized. But so I'm in the basement gym, incline bench, barbell. Probably only had like 205 on the bar. Maybe actually more like 185, something like that. Nothing wild. And what's going on over there? But I'm looking at myself in the mirror, and as I'm doing these reps of incline, something in my mind just clicked, where I could actually feel my chest pulling my elbows upward rather than just feel my hands pushing the weight upward. And those are that's a very different feeling. So I think another thing that kind of helped me with that is if you ever look at like just human anatomy, or just try to imagine like what's really going on, because I don't think a lot of people think about like, okay, if I'm gonna pick something up, I'm not just like, my hand is not just suddenly moving and then my hand is raised from like some non-existent force. Like, you are just this mechanical system of fucking pulleys and levers where it's all about contractions. So rather than think of like pushing, you really never push anything. There is no push in muscle fiber. It's only pulling against opposite kind of levers. Like, your tricep is pulling this part of your elbow toward itself, and that's resulting in your hand moving that direction, right? Your chest doesn't push, your chest pulls your upper arm towards itself, right? Your hamstrings are, well, your quads, and you're doing a leg press, you're not pushing that weight up. You're actually just pulling your shins into a stretch position and pulling your like your thighs into a straightened position for your glutes, and that's what's actually moving weight around. And it's not like you have to think about that or think about it like that to be able to imagine it. But for me, it helps. Like, for me, that really clicks. So when I'm doing those tricep pushdowns or those dips or the concentration preacher curls, or just the preacher curls, that's what I'm thinking. Like, I'm trying to put my mind into whatever muscle I'm working, or at least just, be extra sensitive about it and really try to feel where that contraction is pulling. And in doing so, I swear you can squeeze harder. So just something to think about, right? And then the longer you do it, eventually you'll get to the point where you can just like flex all sorts of muscles all over the place like nothing. I'm talking like popping your pec style, that sort of stuff. And it's kind of funny. I catch myself doing it a lot, especially on back, like when I edit my back day videos. Like, sometimes I'll sit and I'll like squeeze and like tense up my lats while I'm watching the reps. I think I might have lost it a little bit on the lifting side of things if I'm doing that. But I mean, that's just part of it, And the more you can do that, like, the more isolated of a contraction signal that you can send to whatever muscle across your build, the better. Because it just makes you more efficient. If I'm trying to do a set of curls and I use the straps, which definitely helps, and I only send signals to my biceps to really curl and not to my forearms and my like brachial radialis or something, the part of your forearm that gets worked in like a hammer curl. Like, if all of that can stay relatively relaxed, or at least as relaxed as I can make it, and the targeted muscle I'm trying to work is the one that ends up doing all the work, then I've succeeded in doing a well isolated set. It's a little different if you're doing like a compound, or especially if you're trying to work on like a strength vector, like if you're a power lifter. Obviously you want to lift as much weight as possible. Then it's almost the complete opposite. Like, you want maximum muscle recruitment of everything, like stay completely tight, tense, and brace. Like, I think that's where powerlifting and bodybuilding really differ the most, because a bodybuilder is still going to do a relatively like heavy set, like not for one rep, but for 8 or 12, like still hitting failure, but it's in a way where it's much more concentrated. It's like a sniper rifle versus a shotgun. Dealer's choice there, I guess. But whether or not that analogy made sense, just keep it in mind, right? And then before you know it, you'll be sitting here just fucking flexing your chest and your triceps and your lats and your glutes and everything else, and you'll start to understand what these guys mean when they talk about that mind-muscle connection, because it really is just an experience thing. So eventually it'll begin to click and click and click, and then you'll be the guy telling somebody else that, like, oh dude, you gotta feel your lats, bro, you gotta relax your forearms and your biceps, pull with your elbows, not your hand, pull with your elbows. Your hands just need to act as a hook, like, all the classic kind of phrases. But plan for the post-workout meal. Might do a breakfast for dinner type situation. Egg whites and a half a bagel, so only 25 grams of carbs. Maybe a little bit of butter, 7 grams worth, and then go from there. My primary my primary objective is not, eating a ton of food here. It's really trying not to eat a lot. So it's, but I'd say it's still just as tricky, even though it's the absence of effort. Because when you're bulking up hard, I mean, it's hard to eat a lot of food. But in the complete opposite spectrum, it's also hard to not eat a lot of food. But if you're getting ready for a dieting phase, or if you've already done a couple of dieting phases, you know what I'm talking about. So I think that's all I got. I'll see you for what I hope to be a wild leg day tomorrow. I know I'm going to thrash hamstrings, but I've had to take quads a little bit lighter. I was hitting quads a little bit too hard the last 3 lifts a week and a half ago and before. And I can tell I kind of stressed them out a little bit. Not like a serious muscular pull or anything, but just little kind of twinges where if I were to keep doing a really heavy quad day, lift after lift after lift, it would add up to potentially some more serious tweaks. But we'll just see when we get there. And of course, 30 minutes of cardio in the morning. Don't skip your cardio. That's one of my main pieces of freaking advice for anybody. So I'll just see you for legs then.